Hello, everybody. Welcome to our continuing live stream publication of the scholarly report, The Social Cost of the State of Emergency. And I would like to welcome the principal investigator, my mentor, and co host of the show, Dr. Bayram Erzurumluoğlu. Dr. Bayram, hello.
Hello to everyone. I hope you get an informative lecture tonight.
Yes. So, Dr. Varam, well, we would like to welcome everyone to our global classroom. It is lesson 5, and we are inviting those students who are looking for topics such as very, very important topics about crimes against humanity, a new form of genocide that is happening in Turkey. It's so important. And so, this is a wonderful opportunity for those who are looking for their projects, for their master's thesis, for the dissertation. So this is that topic that so important we can help you with. So last week, Dr. Vairam, we have a distinguished guest, and she has moved, I think, our viewers and us here at the Global Dialogue for Justice with her courage to share her own experience and also the experiences of those victims that part of her study. And it's pretty emotional, and I think it's pretty hard to actually for a researcher, somebody like her, to share those stories. And tonight our topic is about unlawful judicial practices, and it is connected. But first, let's play a video of Dr. Fidan from last week.
In our country, especially Muslim societies, suicide is not common. Is not common because especially religious conservative people don't want to suicide. Don't want, never, because it is forbidden Islamic religion. It is forbidden. But in this process, 99% suicidal behavior belong to conservative people, religious conservative people.
Yeah, Dr. Varam, that is very striking. 99, that percentage is so huge. And so the causes of this suicide is tied into what we're talking about tonight. It's about the unlawful judicial practices and the broken judicial system in Turkey. So what can you tell our students about it?
First of all, I would like to remind our students that our data is based on qualitative and quantitative field research. Okay, we are not talking about out of our heart or out of our minds. So whatever we talk on is based on field data, so that I can talk on the suicide issue. Well, suicides are part of the genocidal process by this oppressive regime. Basically, they wish to hide their crimes. What is the best way to hide your crime? You drive your victims to suicide so that you can have a murder without a murderer. You can have a crime without a criminal. So whatever she said, obviously based on her data collection, and our data collection support confirms her findings anyway. So especially suicides among religious conservative people is a taboo, is a more or less no go area in real life. They usually are thought to be patient against suffering this world bring to them. basically. So religious people do not tend to commit suicide. They tend to actually struggle against it, keep their moral as high as possible despite their sufferings. So suicide among them is used to be, let's say, used to be close to zero. I don't say they don't commit suicide. Obviously they could, but it was quite low among those people. Our findings show that usual suicide victims were used to be single women and uneducated people. According to Turkish data, obviously, it could be different in other countries. I accept that. You know, every culture has different way of behavior. Basically, in, let's say, Turkish society, married woman, educated women tend to not commit suicide, basically. But looking at the data, suicide data after 15th of July 2016, most of the suicide victims are married women with children, even children. I mean, at the age of 12, 13, 14, committed suicide because they were driven to suicide, because they were belittled, they were insulted, they were attacked by their own community, by their own neighbors, by their own teachers. Believe you me. I mean, whatever I say is based on the data, as I told you. As an academic, I am not supposed to talk on, gossip. No, I have respect to my profession. I have respect to myself. I have respect to our listeners. Basically, I have respect to everyone. So whatever I say is based on the data we collected and data collected by Miss Fidan, Dr. Fidan, basically. So this, as I repeat again, this suicides are 40, 50 times over the national average. I just remind our listeners from the last lecture. So this cannot be coincidental. Suicides were part of this genocidal process, run, organized, propagated by this criminal regime. Just to hide their crimes against humanity, just to hide their genocidal attack on innocent people, basically. Why do they do that? It is simple. Because these criminals, I call them criminals, at least, act in a sense cleverly. They kill people, but they leave no traces of their crime. So they got their lessons from genocides of probably Hitler, Nazi Germany, basically. Maybe they got their lessons from Goebbels. We don't know who is their leader. I don't know. But they can do this using some radical Islamic clerics, I am sure. As I mentioned in our previous lecture, that in radical Islam, any person can be attacked, killed, pillaged, his property could be pillaged, raped, for the crimes of somebody else. Believe you me, it is allowed in political Islam. As I don't say in Islam, no. Right? Islam says, I know Torah says, or Bible is more flexible. I know. Basically, Torah or Quran says that a father cannot be accused of the crimes of his son, or vice versa. It's in the Torah the same. But Jesus says, "Do not judge anybody." So Jesus is more reliant to criminals. I know. He's more forgiving. He was a very forgiving person. So looking at the events on this point, not leaving not mentioning the modern law, positive law. Nobody could be accused of for crimes of others, but this criminal regime, basically, by relying on the edicts, fatwas of some radical Islamist clerics, they could drive innocent children to suicide, and we have got many reports of those suicides in our data, basically. Well, this is the part of the suicide process, and we have got lots of data, and these criminals should be court tried for the murders, premeditated, organized, systematic murders of those suicide victims and their families. This is all I'm going to say for now, Merjana.
Yes, Dr. Varam, that is going to be very tricky later on when you said that it's going to be tried in court because this is murder. So there, it's going to be really hard. So there should be. That's why you're doing this. You know, we're doing this now and making it clear how it become a murder, how it become unlawful and part of this unlawful judicial system that's causing millions of people to suffer. That's why this documentation, what we're doing here, Dr. Varam, is so important, part of history and the search for seeking for justice for the Turkish people. So it's you said that Dr. Fidan, said that there shouldn't be. It's in Turkey. It was very it is forbidden because in the Muslim religion it's not it wasn't happening, but you just explain very clearly how that is actually allowed, and it's striking. And so our lesson is directed to those students, actually not just in psychology, but it is the criminal justice majors, and it covers a lot of field for those who are going to find this lecture and this scholarly publication. That is, we are reminding our audience, this is a non-traditional scholarly publication, and I don't know any right now. I have searched for other scholarly. It's always published the familiar one, which is of course very important, but we're expanding the way we are learning with this kind of publication, Dr. Varam. That's why sometimes people are asking about the credibility, about the rigor of what we do, but it is actually the same or equal from the traditional way. And sometimes the difference is for some of you, for like you, Dr. Varam, who is the principal investigator, Dr. Fidan is doing this important research. You give that emotion, not just a report or in written, but it actually the voice of the victims, of the subjects, and it's pretty important what we're doing here. And
well, sorry for interrupting you, Merjana. Well, in our last lecture, Miss Fidan or Dr. Fidan related to a suicide that was committed inside a mosque. Well, I am sure it is unseen. It was unseen in Turkish society. I am sure. Any person who commits suicide is usually go and throw himself or herself from a building or hang himself, that poison himself, get some pills, this and that. But any suicide victim, probably anywhere in the world, wouldn't go to a church to commit suicide, wouldn't go to a mosque to commit suicide, wouldn't go to any temple to commit suicide. That person knows that those places are sacred places, and those places are not a venue for their suicidal act. But that person entered the mosque, prayed there. He was probably a religious person, and as far as I remember, some camera pictures were published on the social media, if I'm not wrong. We could see that that person was prayed there, and then went to hang himself in the ceiling of somewhere in the mosque. That was actually cry and maybe a punch in the face of those supposed to be religious criminals, stating that they were their murderers, because that person was a respectable person. Let's say 1 month ago or 2 months ago, actually, let's say before his suicide, that person was a respectable person. But these criminals, this criminal group, let's say, actually, associated with him with some sort of crime which he didn't commit. They didn't prove anyway. As you could remember, this criminal group were saying that it was in their own published report, saying that if we accuse someone, we need not to produce any evidence and any proof. If we say you are criminal, you are criminal. That's it. That person couldn't take the burden of that supposed to be crime, so he committed suicide and made a statement, a big statement to this criminal group and their supporters, that, look, I kill myself in a mosque, in a religious place. I am a religious person. I just prayed here. We prayed together here. We prayed together here because probably that person went that mosque several times, along with those people supposed to be religious people, this and that. But you actually hurt me so much. You belittled me. You degraded my honor so much that I cannot take it anymore. So I am killing myself to prove my innocence. And interesting, Miss Fidan especially mentioned this process. He killed himself to prove his innocence. It was like witch trials in medieval Europe. Witches, supposed to be witches, used to be put in the river. If they were drowned, they would be called innocent. But they were drowned. Just to prove that they were innocent, they must have been drowned. If they actually survived, they will be killed through burning or hanging anyway. This is a process like that. It is criminal. It is unacceptable. It is so evil. But these people do not care. I am sure, believe you me, this criminal regime do not have any mercy to that suicide victim. Believe you me, because we get some comments on these kind of things, like if a baby is drowned in the sea or in the river while they are trying to escape from the oppression of this regime, supporters usually name babies. There is one less terrorist in our country now. That was a baby. He wasn't, or she wasn't a terrorist. She didn't commit any crime. But I am sure criminal people didn't have any concern, didn't have any mercy on the death, suicide, murder of that person. That is why this regime is still doing what it is doing. That's why we are actually trying to get their voices heard through this lecture, and we expect support from anybody, and as much as they can, basically, in terms of politically, I don't know, socially, I don't know, in whatever way they can, basically. Yeah.
Dr. Bayram, going back to that, that's why Dr. Fidan's study research on suicide is really broad and is so important.
Yeah.
So we're going to, in the next few weeks or months, we are going to revisit her guests, being a guest here. Yeah, her, and we're going to show our students, our global students, these videos, because it's just so important, and it touches so many aspects of the current situation in Turkey. And you say that it's a topic of suicide, but it touches so many things. And she's saying it's not about medical issue. This person wasn't crazy that drove this person to commit suicide. It's not. So it touches so many things. And as we seek for justice, and eventually, like you said, so it's going to be very hard. Like how in the future, in the very near future, to seek accountability for these crimes. It's like we don't want it forgotten. That's why we're doing this as a recorded.
No.
Yeah, we're recording it through this kind of forum, and that guy, that person who committed suicide at the mosque, that is really unbelievable, Dr. Bayram. I mean, it's when you're looking for heroes in the fight of justice in Turkey, you can put him and almost in the front of that fight. Him being gone now, but supposed to be his legacy, and that what he did should be always talked about and never be forgotten, because that is it's very painful, Dr. Bayram. It's horrific for those family members that affected, and it's just really hard. So there are many more examples of this injustice, of this crime. So when we talk about the judicial system in Turkey, Dr. Bayram, there are, next week we have this very important topic to discuss, and with our special guest, and it touches again in the lawlessness, which is part of your report, is creating lawlessness, right, Dr. Bayram?
True.
It's it's just too much. This report is so huge, and there's so many things.
Regina,
yes,
I know what is in the report, because I personally wrote it out of my victimization studies, obviously. Why that report is so huge or so wide-ranging? Well, the thing is, the attack on innocent people is so wide-ranging. That's why I just wanted to leave a reference, like an encyclopedia, basically, reference encyclopedia, to the memory of humanity, basically. I'm sure maybe 40, 50, 60 different studies could be coming out of my single study, because that study data is collected, psychological data, economic data, social data, political data, this and that, and data is there. And basically our raw data is open to anyone. Let's give open check to any researchers that our data, if asked, obviously, is open to anyone, so that they can pull out some section of it for their own research. For example, they could do some research for children. They could do some research, victimization, let's call it victimization research for maybe women, victimization research for elderly, maybe disabled people, even disabled people. Well, this criminal group do not have any care, do not have any mercy, as I told you, do not have any consciousness, conscience, basically conscience for the victims, because they are only interested in their own evil ideology. And as we know, all genocidal regimes have some sort of ideology. Maybe Hitler's Nazi regime had a master race ideology, This criminal regime in Turkey probably have some sort of, I don't know, maybe their own caliphate regime. We don't know. They say, for example, our high ideology. I don't know what is their high ideology. I asked, what is their high ideology? None of them know. None of them explain. But in the background, they are trying to make their, let's say, revered leader as maybe, I don't know, Caliph of the world, maybe. You never know. You never know. That is why they are ruthless in trying to get their evil ideology or evil leader and evil aims well to realize and to impose their evil system, starting from Turkey. And it may, if they are successful, I am sure they will try to spread their criminal regime, criminal ways all around the world as much as they can. Here is some indications. We are in Syria for now. If those criminals had been successful in Syria, I am sure they would move to maybe Iraq. I'm sure they will try to move to Libya or maybe it's somewhere else. Then I am sure the turn will come to other countries, and no country in the world will be safe from the criminal deeds of this regime, because whatever did up to now is a sign of whatever they are going to do next, basically. So I urge our listeners, I urge people living in the free world to be careful, to be aware of these kind of people with evil ideology and evil acts. Stage is yours, Nejla. Thank you very much.
Dr. Bayram, this ideology is very dangerous, as we understand it. And how is it going to, what is going to be the catalyst for the destruction or to break this ideology that that really hurts so many people in Turkey? What could be that a way, this is one thing that could start to break that ideology that it's so evil, that it is so unbelievable, Dr. Bayram, and that they get away with it. They get away with it.
Yeah. This evil ideology, evil people actually feed on silence of the others, starting from the people living in the country, basically. These people use propaganda, Goebbels tactics to silence people inside the country, if possible, through those net propaganda, lies, all those things. Then they try to deceive, actually on purpose, people living outside, like people in the Europe or in the United States. For example, just to give you information, these people claim that they are fighting terrorism and terrorists. I ask, are the terrorists babies? Are the terrorists, 10, 15 years old children? Are the terrorists 90 years and old aged elderly? Are the terrorists brothers or sisters or supposed to be accused of people? No. But these people intentionally use his language as if they are they are fighting terrorists. In fact, they are fighting most 99 or 999 out of 1,000 people who are innocent, hardworking, sincere people whom they could not use or abuse for their criminal intent, basically. I need to give you one example. For example, I refer a statement out of a court case, yeah?
Your audio is a little bit choppy, so we would like to of course remind our global students and our viewers we are live, so we are our show is not flawless, so sometimes there's audio issues, but our our content is pretty heavy. The content we're sharing you is about genocide, a new form of genocide that's happening in Turkey, and crimes against humanity. And Dr. Bayram is explaining this very, very important part of his report. And so let's check your audio again, Dr. Bayram, see if it's recovered.
Can you hear me, Marjana? Better or worse?
It's still choppy.
No, it's not fine. Exactly.
It's
Internet.
I think the internet is
Probably.
yeah, it's the internet connection, but it always recover. In our past lectures, Dr. Varam, you have your audio has recovered, and it's so important for our viewers, especially the students that's going to be benefit from your report, to listen, to be patient. So we ask you to be patient because we started talking about Dr. Fatma Zehra Fidan's study of suicide that is not about medical issue, that is not about, it's something related to what's happening in Turkey. And it's a crime. It's a crime against humanity. And there'll be the time when it's going to be, these people will be tried for this crime. And it's kind of hard if you are not familiar with what's happening in Turkey, and that's why we're sharing this with you on live stream. It's because then you will say, oh, they just committed suicide, and then if you start looking at it, there's so many aspects of this that touches the injustices that is happening in Turkey, and it is actually recorded in this report by Dr. Varam, Social Cost of the State of Emergency. For those of you that don't know, there is a state of emergency, the decree laws that is in Turkey, and affecting millions of innocent people in and out of Turkey. And this is what Dr. Varam is. I'm fortunate, Dr. Varam, for allowing me to co-host this scholarly publication on live stream. I think we are the first ones to bring this to a global classroom. And so that's why I said we are inviting those, and I have invited a student from New Mexico State University. So if you're watching right now, this is just the beginning on when they're going to discover all of this 152 at the moment. You have Dr. Varam, 152 methods and practices of crimes against humanity in Turkey. And this is really, truly unbelievable. And you've never seen this. This is your study, Dr. Varam, is wide, and it's so rigorous, and it's mixed method. It's both qualitative and quantitative method that was used. And for over now it's almost 8 years that is going on in Turkey. This crimes against innocent people that includes even babies. People will not believe, Dr. Bayram, that there are babies in prison in Turkey. And so I have messaged my former professor at New Mexico State University and told her what we're doing here. Because normally you publish a report through normal regular publication, which is a non-traditional publication. We go through the process of preparing your manuscript and you're submitting it to publications, and then you get approved, and then it gets published, and then you talk about it. But here we are, Dr. Bayram, we are on live stream and giving it to our viewers and our students. And she gave me, and I'm very, very pleased. We got a thumbs up from this professor from New Mexico State University. So it is a beginning. I'm excited because, before, if you say you're going to have a live stream publication of a scholarly report, they're going to say, what is that? Why are you doing that? But now it's becoming, probably, hopefully, by what we're doing here, we're setting the stage for future new breed of scholars and academics that will accept what we do, because it's really your report, Dr. Bayram, is going to be part of history. It's going to be taken to The Hague, and we're going to be there to witness it. So let's check your audio, Dr. Bayram, because we have so much to learn from you. No. Well, anyways. well, okay. So I would like to remind our audience, we're doing a live stream. We have a few more weeks before our finale. Okay, so, but next week is going to be very, oh my goodness, Dr. Ram, this is going to be so huge. It's going to be so emotional. We have the Colonel Hussein Demirtas as our a special guest. He's a colonel in the United States Navy. He was, and also a commander, Ahmed Kalkan, and he's he's very famous in the fight of justice. He's got a different way of fighting for justice that is so unique. So people will discover him as he's got humor, he's got depth, he's got everything, and we're very, I'm very thankful for these two people who will come on board next week for the topic, which is cadets in prison, the students in prison, military students in prison. How are they in prison and accused of a crime that they did not commit? There's going to be some evidence they might present to say, hey, this is unlawful. Yeah. This is one of those unlawful practices in Turkey, Dr. Bayram, that people are going to be surprised who's not yet discover your report. And we're doing this in English, of course. And so I'm just so thrilled and very thankful that this topic, part of your report, is going to be featured next week. And I can't wait to share this with our students, and it's going to be very important. For example, at New Mexico State University, where I graduated, Dr. Bayram, I got my doctorate. There's a military school there, and so there's a huge presence of military people in and out, that they get deployed, they come back, and so there are parts of my country and our society who understand what others are going through in many parts of the world. And so I think we can reach out. I myself, I was a member of the U.S. military family for 21 years. So when we talk about this topic, this is something like, oh, I'm an American, I have no idea what is going on. And so the fact that we're going to have that next week is going to, I don't know, I'm gonna be very emotional, Dr. Bayram, and it's so I just love. I can't wait. So, Dr. Bayram, let's check your audio, because we still have a lot of things to cover.
I hope you hear me now.
And the Turkish Navy. Did I misspoke to say this in the American Navy? the colonel, yeah, they were in the Turkish Navy, officer and colonel and the commander of the Turkish Navy, not the yeah. So, but Dr. Bayram, we still have a lot to cover for the remainder of our time here for tonight, because it is about the unfair trials, and what's going on in Turkey. Dr. Bayram, how is that happening in Turkey right now? The broken judicial
Okay.
system.
Can you hear me now, Merj?
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Basically, the thing is, present judicial system is part of the criminal acts of this regime. Just to give you an example, this example is out of the High Court, decisions, basically. In one of the High Court decisions, one of the judges of that court was saying that, I'm just making it very simple. He was saying to the High Court that, look, oh judges, we visited as a judge committee to the European Court of Human Rights. This is out of the statement of the court case. I can send you a copy. Okay, it's in Turkish, but I mean whatever we say is proven, as I saw, with evidence. That just was, look, we visited as a committee to the European Court of Human Rights and told the members of the European Court, that, for example, we never how should I say, sentence people for, let's say, for using a WhatsApp like application called Bylock. Okay, we never punish people for, let's say, putting some money in a legal bank that the government didn't like. We never punished people for joining a trade union, I mean labor union, that the government didn't like. We never punished people for sending in some charity money to some charities that government didn't like. We assured the judges at the European Court of Human Rights that we are doing our best to stay in line with the humanitarian law, with the codes of European Court of Human Rights. But, and we convinced them, in a sense, we deceived them, but now we are people for using the WhatsApp-like application for joining in a labor union, as I told you, for the government didn't like, for sending in some charity money for a charitable organization that the government didn't like. So we are contradicting what we say and what we do. So actually, the same act is still going on. By the way, 8 years later, emergency period, declaration of emergency is over. Supposed to be over. Just for this is a reminder for our listeners. They might do a Google search. They could say that, look, emergency period is ended in 2018, suppose, and we are in 2023. How come you could mention this emergency period is going on? They might ask us now, and they have every right to ask us now. But the reality is, this regime made this emergency period forever. It is still here. All the edicts that were published, ruled in the supposed to be emergency period, are still valid today because they were turned into law. That is why we call, we name, we cry that emergency period, emergency decrees are still intact. They are in effect. Just I'd like to remind this to our listeners. And the emergency periods law, emergency periods judges are still doing what they have been doing, because honest judges are dismissed on the day of supposed to be coup d'etat or attempt of the coup d'etat, but it is revealed by our research and recent witnesses that came out that, well, it was a special operation by this own regime just to actually punish honest, hardworking people and replace them with how should I say, usable idiots or well, whatever you call usable peoples, usable people. That is why this regime is still going on. It is criminal operation, and it is going on trying to deceive European Court of Human Rights, European countries, United States, sometimes in let's say nice ways, like say carrot and stick methods. They usually try to use carrot method to the members of European Court or European countries. But if somehow they don't believe the propaganda of this regime, then they start using, refugees, all other means to blackmail or scare public or politicians of those states. But I urge people of the world that they shouldn't give in for black propaganda or white propaganda or carrot and stick operations of this regime, because if this regime stays, lives more, and then it will create trouble to every country in the world, like it is creating in Syria or in Iraq or anywhere else. I just would like to warn our listeners on this matter. Thank you very much for now.
That is a very scary warning for our for the world, actually, Dr. Bayram. And so we encourage our students globally to really pay attention. And there's many of them I know they're looking for great topic for for their projects and also for their studies, for their master studies. Well, here it is. I mean, it is so massive, and it's so like you explained, Dr. Aram. It's almost like, is this real? Is this really happening in this world? And this is happening in Turkey, where they can get away with crimes, and then the international community, the countries they deal with, they have business with, they just keep their eyes closed, and they are blind, mute, and deaf to the suffering of people, and they continue to have business with Turkey without any question. And I think these questions must be asked. They must be pressured, and for the reasons why they just turn a blind eye on the human suffering is, it's really, really hard to believe. But Dr. Fatma Zehra Fidan said hello to us, and she likes what we are doing here, and we respect so much her work, and we will be, referring to her work, and we're going to be asking her um, guidance and advice when this topic, is come up. And always, I'm hoping that she will be available for us and for our students as well. So also, Dr. Varam, I think you've seen um, that we have a Rati from New Mexico State University. He is in the USA right now, and the semester just started, and so we would like to wish Radi best wishes for the semester. He is going to graduate really soon with his master's degree at New Mexico State University, and so we would like to say good luck to Radi and all the students there. Dr. Varam, would you like to say hello to New Mexico State University students?
Yes. I would like to say hello to the students of New Mexico State, and I would like to give them or remind the name of once British Prime Minister, whose name is Neville Chamberlain. That guy made an agreement with Hitler, pretending, claiming, or that Hitler, if treated nicely, he would behave nicely. But in the end, he gave Hitler precious time to prepare for the war, for genocide, for his genocidal attacks on innocent people. So we are living in a period which is no different than the time of Neville Chamberlain and Hitler. I just would like to give this little warning to our listeners. Thank you very much.
That's not little. That's actually pretty scary. And then it's an important warning, actually, and reminder for our global, community. So we have a comment. I believe this is coming from Istanbul, but this is supposed to be, I think, for next week's our discussion on what happened. That this is going to be, of course, part of the live stream for next week, obviously. So, but thank you so much. We will refer to this comment and feedback, and of course your perspective over to the colonel and the commander, Ahmed Kalkan, next week. So thank you very much. And we have greetings from Finland. Yes, geez, thank you very much. Miss Mamina Rayan, who is, in Finland right now. I hope it's not so freezing going on there. I heard that in Helsinki there's a snowstorm. I hope everyone is okay, and it's a little bit warm here in Tbilisi tonight. Last night it was freezing, and so all the animals that I'm feeding are, kind of in trouble, and we just wish that all of them will be safe. And we're trying very hard, Dr. Bayram, to give relief and comfort to the stray animals. And I think in Turkey also there are the stray animals. But I've noticed there are 4 times already that I've visited Turkey, that I've noticed all these animals are just taken care of. They are fed, there are houses, there are water. I mean, it's just like Dr. Varam, your people, no matter how different, there's so much difference in your society. There's one thing that people are united, and this is the love for animals. And can you imagine if that love for animals can also be directed to or become love for humans, no matter how different they are? Like, for example, we're talking about the babies in prison. How can a baby be accused of being a terrorist and put in prison, or be even responsible for that, and to the point that this baby is suffering in prison? And there are many of them. And I think the world, Dr. Varam, don't know this. I don't think people at New Mexico State University don't know that there are babies in prison in Turkey. And this is one of, it covers our topic tonight, is the judicial system, the laws in Turkey that is so broken, that is so unfair. And this is why it's so important that we are covering this topic, Dr. Bayram. And there are many items, the methods and practices in your report that covers the judicial system in Turkey. So, um, so, Dr. Bayram, would you like to give your final message to our global students from our Global Dialogue for Justice classroom right now? Because we're ending and we are going to say goodbye to them tonight.
I remind our listeners, our students, story of Neville Chamberlain and Hitler, and I'd like to give them one more information about what is happening in Turkey. The judiciary, the justice system, used as a weapon. I repeat, as a weapon against the victims, and then the system actually acts like like an assistant to this oppressive regime. They act like servants of this oppressive regime, and they act to be used by this regime as if there is a justice in the country, there is a judicial system in the country, as I told you, but they are used as a tool of propaganda, tools of black propaganda, wherever this regime is in contact with, like as I said, in European countries, in European Court of Human Rights, in maybe United Nations High Commission of Human Rights, this and that. But I just would like to urge people that all oppressive regimes are habitual liars. They should know it and then act on this information. I thank everybody. Thank them all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bayram. You are one of these academics, and that's so brave, because people don't know maybe that you are actually a victim yourself of this, state of emergency, and for you to enlighten us and to educate us about what's happening there, while you are also are suffering, and at the same time a fighter for justice. And it's so courageous, just like Dr. Fatma Zehra Fidan and Colonel Hussein Demirtas, Ahmed Kalkan, and so many others, that have been fighting for justice, and the voice of those people who have no voice and weakened by the brutal regime. And so thank you very much, Dr. Bayram. I will see you next week with our topic. It's a very important topic: cadets in prison. And they are. We have a guest, Ahmed Kalkan and Colonel Hussein Demirtas. So we'll see you, and good night, everybody. And thank you very much. And to our global students, we hope to see you next week. Good night.